What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and we're going to be talking about the Oath of the Noble Genies Paladin in the newest Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerun book. It is a weird name for a subclass, the Oath of the Noble Genie, but it's actually very strong, at least from my original reading of it. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that. But I did just want to take a second to talk a little bit about the Banneret Fighter, which was the previous video. And I've thought about it a little bit. I kind of came to that realization towards the end of the video, but yeah, I agree. The whole fact that the subclass is, I really, really like it. So I just want to point that out, that I do like the subclass. I just don't like that you are basically doing your whole subclass mechanic once per short rest all the way through the end of it. So I think I might just change it and say it works whenever you activate your second win, and then it gives you more uses of your class feature. But either way, we're not here to talk about the banneret. That was in the last video, but just remember that if you go back and watch it, I would just make it applies whenever you use second wind, period. And then that way, as you gain more, it becomes more useful. So anyway, let's talk about the Noble Genie Paladin here. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. If you like this kind of stuff, consider subscribing to the channel. So here it is. You get Elemental Smite here at level 3. Immediately after you, something else I need to say, because I'm going to get tripped up on this. I don't follow the full 2024 rules when it comes to Divine Smite. I think it's a weird choice personally to have Divine Smite be a bonus action. I know it's technically a spell now. I'm fine with that. But I think it taking up both your attack action and your bonus action is a little much. I have still limited it to one spell per turn, right? Whether that's one smite or one smite spell. And the smite spells are still costing a bonus action. But I don't have the paladins eat up their bonus action to just do standard divine smite, because I feel like that limits you hard in being able to do things like lay on hands, especially because lay on hands is now a bonus action. So anyway, just wanted to get that out in case I misspeak here. But immediately after you cast Divine Smite, you can expend a use of your Channel Divinity to invoke one of the following effects. Dow's Crush, which is Earth rises up and it grapples, attempts to grapple the victim of your Divine Smite. They will make a spell save DC, and if they're grappled, they're also restrained. Um, it okay. There's no time limit though. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So I guess they're just permanently grappled and restrained. It doesn't technically say anything that states that it does say escape DC is equal to your spell save DC, but it doesn't, like, they don't get to make that save again voluntarily. Like, it's not like they can make the save at the end of their turn. They are just grappled and potentially restrained indefinitely until they're able to break out with the escape DC, which is still presumably their action to do so. That's actually extremely strong. A grapple and restrain in the same move as part of already hitting somebody with an attack roll. Pretty solid. All right, Genie's Escape. You teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of yourself and take on a semi-incorporeal form, which lasts until the end of your next turn. While in this form, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage, and immunity to grappled, prone, and restrained. Also very strong. Paladins routinely don't have access, not entirely, some do in various cases, but for the most part, typically don't have access to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, resistance. And to be able to get this tied to your channel divinity, and then again, it lasts on the turn you activate it. So if you activate Divine Smite on the start of your existing turn, it goes all the way through around to the end of your next turn. So that can get you through some serious amounts of damage reduction there. And again, several immunities to conditions. Ifriti's Fury, the target takes an extra 2d4 fire damage, and the fire jumps from that target to another creature you can see within 30 feet. The second creature also takes 2d4 fire damage. So almost kind of like a green flame blade to some extent. Um, but hey, it's just extra fire damage. It's not a ton of fire damage, only 2d4, but it's free damage. There's no save associated with it or anything. And you get to target a second creature as well. So that's definitely not bad. And lastly, Marid's Surge. Each creature in a 10-foot emanation, each creature of your choice, rather, in a 10-foot emanation originating from you must make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, they are pushed 15 foot straight away from you and knocked prone. Again, a lot of just in this one level 3 ability, we have given this paladin quite a bit of utility. We have the option to potentially lock down an enemy for a very long time, grant themselves damage resistance and survivability, deal a little bit of chip damage and then damage to a secondary target, or do a big AoE push. Then we get Genie spells. We get Chromatic Orb, Elementalism, and Thunderous Smite. Chromatic Orb, if you haven't looked at Chromatic Orb in 2024, got a big update in the ability for it to bounce from one target to the next, which is a very nice improvement. Elementalism, a cantrip that is very fitting for this type of paladin. You get access to Mirror Image and Phantasmal Force. Again, Phantasmal Force is one of those spells that is very much dependent on what your GM will allow. But you can do a lot with that. But Mirror Image on a Paladin is wild. That's very, very good. Typically, Paladins have very high AC, but this is very strong. Fly in Gaseous Form. Again, the ability to fly as a Paladin is always useful, as you're not always, but more often than not, a melee-based character. Conjure Minor Elementals and Summon Elementals is huge, specifically Conjure Minor Elementals, because as we've studied, talked about in previous videos, Conjure Minor Elementals is a way to do a significant amount of damage. You conjure spirits that go around you in a 15-foot emanation, lasts for 10 minutes, and until the spell ends, any attack you make against a target within that area takes an extra 2d8 damage when you hit them with an attack, and you choose if it's acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage, and that is also considered difficult terrain. So typically this is best used on a character that can cast this spell significantly earlier, because you're not going to get access to this till level 13, and also has higher level spell slots to cast it out of. But either way, this is an opportunity for you to cast a buff spell on yourself that will just have you dealing an extra 2d8 damage every time you swing, which is pretty nice. And then banishing Smite and Contact to Other Plane at level 17. What's also interesting is not only do you get Elemental Smite and the Genie spells, you also get a whole other ability in Genie's Splendor. When you aren't wearing any armor, your base armor class is 10 plus your Dexterity modifier and your Charisma modifiers, making you effectively similar to like a monk where you're adding 2 stats together, or a barbarian. You can still use a shield while gaining this benefit. Also, on top of all of that at level 3, you get proficiency in acrobatics, intimidation, performance, or persuasion. This is a very, very strong 3 levels for a paladin. I will also like to point out that in the physical printed versions of this book, it says that your armor class is dexterity plus constitution. That is an incorrect thing that has already been errated here on D&D Beyond to be charisma and dexterity. So that was a mistake that went out in the printings. That won't be fixed until the next printing of the Forgotten Realms book, but for right now, the physical printed copies will say Constitution. Aura of Elemental Shielding at level 7. You can choose Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Thunder. Allies within your Aura of Protection have resistance to this damage type. And here's what's really nice. At the start of each of your turns, you can change that damage type to any one of the other ones for no action at all. This is very similar to things that the Elemental Monk can do. So this is a very, very good survivability. It is changeable and dynamic in the moment based on what's happening, which is very, very cool. At level 15, you get Elemental Rebuke. When you are hit by an attack roll, you can take a reaction to have the attack's damage against yourself rounded down and force the attacker to make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the attacker takes damage equal to 2d10 plus your charisma modifier of one of the following types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. On a success, they take half damage, and you can do this charisma modifier times per long rest. This is phenomenal. This is essentially Hellish Rebuke mixed with Uncanny Dodge. The only downside is it is a limit in the number of times you can do it, but still very beneficial. And then lastly, at level 20, Noble Scion. As a bonus action, you gain the benefits below for 10 minutes or until you end them. No action required. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. You can also restore use by expending a 5th level spell slot. You get a fly speed of 60 feet and can hover. And when you or an ally with inside your aura of protection fails a d20 test, you can take a reaction to make you or that ally succeed instead. So that's any attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can use your reaction. And again, at this point, your aura is going to be out to 30 feet to just make them or you succeed on said roll. I forgot to look at the Unearthed Arcana as we went through, and I think I actually might do this because I think this might be cleaner to just go through the entire new one first and then just go back and look at the Unearthed Arcana after the fact and then see what we want to talk about that's different. So it was still Elemental Smite, Grapple and Restrain, Genie Escape, 30-foot Teleport. Okay, so Genie Escape got a big improvement. It used to just be a 30-foot Teleport and immunity to grapple, prone, and restrained condition. Now it has all of that, but in addition, resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage. Ifriti's Fury now has the opportunity where that extra 2d4 damage jumps to another target. That wasn't there previously. Marid's Surge looks to be the same. Also looks like the spells are the same. And it says when you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor, you gain a bonus to the AC equals your charisma modifier. So they changed that to just be, I think it's while you're not wearing any armor, correct? Yeah, so they made it Dex plus charisma as opposed to just adding your charisma to say if you were wearing light armor. Elemental shielding looks to be the same. Okay, they nerfed the damage on Elemental Rebuke. It used to be 4d10 plus your charisma modifier in damage you could deal. It is now just 2d10 plus your charisma modifier. And then Noble Scion looks to be, yeah, looks to be the same. It's still 10 minutes. Yeah. So either way, again, I'm not like the name is not something that I love, and I guess the oaths don't like. I guess you're just like you're an elemental. I don't know why they just didn't call it like the Oath of the Elements Paladin because it feels very similar to the way of the like the elemental monk. But they decided to kind of theme this around Genie specifically, but all of their abilities are very much elemental in nature. So obviously, if that doesn't fit the character that you're playing, you obviously could tweak or change that to make it more just elemental based. But honestly, this is a very strong paladin. It has a lot of interesting options, a lot of good utility, good spells on the spell list as well. Usually you kind of get that trade-off of you usually have really good abilities and like subpar spells, but this is pretty solid all around. The variety of what you're able to do with Elemental Smite is very nice. A lot of good options for spells that have a variety of utility inside and outside of combat. Genie Splendor is crazy, so this lets you be the unarmored paladin, which is really nice. Resistance to elemental damage that you can change on the turn is nice. Again, Uncanny Dodge mixed with Hellish Rebuke. And I guess Noble Scion's probably the weakest aspect of it, but it's the level 20 feature, which feels like it should be the strongest. Hey, I mean, it's a free 60-foot fly speed that can hover. And it is good to have, the extra, fail protection with Minor Wish, which is, I guess that's the concept there, right? If it's going to be Genie based and Genies can grant wishes typically, right? So this is you just allowing an ally or yourself to just succeed, not re-rolling, just auto success. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on the Oath of the Noble Genies Paladin. Um, Again, I like it. This is something I would consider playing. This would be a really cool option. I'm a little surprised we didn't get like Genasi as an updated species in the Forgotten Realms book. It would be cool to have gotten them. And then I think the concept of a Genasi paladin who's kind of really tying deep into their elemental heritage. Maybe again, the image that they had for sort of the splash art image was a dragonborn. So maybe this is a dragonborn who's also, diving into the more elemental nature of their breath weapon or their ancestry or whatnot. I think there's a lot of cool options for interesting interactions. I mean, who knows, right? Maybe this is like a Aladdin situation or a Jafar situation, and your character when they were younger found a lamp, and they made a wish, and they wanted some of the genie's power, and the genie kind of not exactly monkey's pawed, but twisted their words and then made them a paladin of that said genie and gave them some power, but didn't give them the unlimited wish granting potential of a genie. A lot of interesting options for the role play, and again, a fundamentally very strong paladin that will be welcome in any party that I'm a part of. So anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Be sure to join me for the Winter Walker Ranger in the next video. I'll see you next time.